In a quiet village nestled below the royal cliffs, Aaron Arbor heard the call that would change his life. The kingdom needed a dragon slayer. He wasn't strong. He wasn't fast. But deep inside, Aaron carried something greater than skill. He carried a quiet fire. Aaron couldn't do it alone. He met a clever thief, a bold archer, and a healer with secrets. Together, they formed an unlikely fellowship. The path led them to the Bridge of Dread. Aaron's fear roared louder than any beast, but one step forward proved braver than any leap. Smoke curled from the mouth of the cave. The dragon had awakened, and it knew the scent of fear. Aaron charged, not as a warrior, but as a friend. With his team by his side, he faced the beast not with rage, but with resolve. In the heart of the fire, Aaron struck, not to destroy, but to defend. His courage became his greatest weapon.
And so the boy who feared everything became the legend who inspired all. The last dragon slayer was never alone. He had a team, and he had heart.
Once upon a time, in a kingdom bordered by wild woods, two unlikely friends began an unexpected adventure. Red, ever curious, and Rapunzel, royal but restless. Their quest began not in battle, but in boredom. The castle walls felt too small for dreams as big as theirs, so they slipped past guards and giggling whispers, hearts racing for freedom, for stories waiting to be written in the wild. Across the old stone bridge, the kingdom ended, but their adventure began. In a hollow log, they discovered a map, tattered, ancient, and filled with riddles only the brave could solve. With the map as their guide, they ventured deeper, where even trees whispered secrets. A trap of living vines caught them, but it was only the first trial, a test of wit and will. With Rapunzel's braid and Red's cunning, they escaped, not alone, but together. The map led them to an old tower, lost to time, crowned in ivy and legend. The door was sealed with a riddle, one only solved when two minds met in trust. Inside the tower, a chamber pulsed with golden light and the heartbeat of an ancient secret. The crystal orb revealed a vision, not of treasure, but of a kingdom in need, and two girls brave enough to help. They ran, not from danger, but toward duty, ready to face what their hearts now knew. In the village square, a shadow rose, but Red and Rapunzel stood firm, fighting not with fear, but with faith in each other. The battle ended in victory. Not just over darkness, but over doubt. The villagers cheered, not for princesses, but for heroes. Back atop the tower, they watched the sun fall. Two girls, once so different, now sisters in spirit, bound by trust and the journey they'd shared. In the heart of the jungle, just beyond Farmer McGregor's orchard, Peter Rabbit found something strange, a golden map. It shimmered with ancient markings. A treasure was hidden deep in the jungle, and Peter couldn't resist. Without telling a soul, Peter dashed into the vines, dodging roots and buzzing bees. But trouble found him fast. A mischievous monkey snatched the map and vanished into the trees. Peter climbed higher and higher, heart pounding, ears twitching with every rustle. With one great leap, he caught the map, and a branch broke beneath him. Down he tumbled, somersaulting through vines until, thump, he landed in a soft moss bed, right next to a stone door carved with ancient symbols. The door opened, Peter entered a hidden temple. Inside, secrets waited. The air was thick with stories. Stories of guardians, riddles, and a treasure protected by trust. Peter solved the first riddle. A stone clicked. The floor began to tremble. He ran. Tiles crumbled behind him. But Peter's heart raced faster than the danger. At the river's edge, he caught his breath. A bridge lay ahead, but someone waited. A wise tortoise blocked his way. The treasure is not gold, he warned. Then what is it? Peter asked. The tortoise only smiled and pointed to Peter's chest. Peter crossed the bridge, questions heavy in his mind. What treasure was worth all this? A mural glowed. It showed a rabbit, not stealing, but sharing. Helping. Peter understood. The treasure was trust. At the river's edge, he caught his breath. A bridge lay ahead, but someone waited. A wise tortoise blocked his way. The treasure is not gold, he warned. "Then what is it?" Peter asked. The tortoise only smiled and pointed to Peter's chest. Peter crossed the bridge, questions heavy in his mind. What treasure was worth all this? A mural glowed. It showed a rabbit, not stealing but sharing, helping. Peter understood. The treasure was trust, earned, not take. He turned back, found the monkey, shared the map. Together they laughed, climbed, escaped the temple with nothing and everything. Back in the clearing, Peter's friends cheered. He shared the tale, but left out the gold. He turned back, found the monkey, shared the map. Together they laughed, climbed, escaped the temple with nothing and everything. Back in the clearing, Peter's friends cheered. He shared the tale, but left out the gold. Back in the clearing, Peter's friends cheered. He shared the tale, but left out the gold. Instead, he spoke of courage, of puzzles, and of the tortoise who changed everything. That night, Peter lay under the stars. The treasure wasn't lost. It had just been misunderstood. In a jungle of secrets, Peter Rabbit found the greatest one of all. Trust begins when we choose to share. In a kingdom bathed in golden dawn, young Aaron Nightshine stood watchful, his armor catching the first light. "They say the skies whisper secrets," he murmured, eyes locked on the clouds above. A mission unknown, a trail uncharted, yet Aaron rode with purpose, deep into the forest's emerald hush. He dismounted, drawn by the strange pulse in the air, a rhythm older than the kingdom itself. And there it lay, a dragon's egg, glowing with ancient enchantment. The shell cracked. A pair of golden eyes met his, wide with wonder, not fear. It was not a beast, but a bond, one forged in the silence between heartbeats. "I'll protect you," he vowed, and the dragon purred, sparks dancing across its nose. Days passed. They trained together, boy and dragon, learning flight, flame, and trust. Aaron soared on dragonback, wind roaring past, heart soaring faster. The kingdom gazed skyward in awe. A knight who flew with fire. But not all hearts trusted dragons. The council feared what they could not tame. "He is no monster," Aaron declared, voice ringing through the marble chamber. But fear was loud and trust too quiet. The dragon was shackled. Aaron knelt beside him. "I won't let them break what we've built." That night, he made a choice. Trust over command. Friendship over fear. The lock clicked open. The dragon's eyes gleamed. Freedom at last. Together, they vanished into the starlit sky toward the unknown. The kingdom cried for help. Flames, raiders, chaos. Aaron returned. This time, not as a boy, as a knight, with a dragon's roar at his side. They fought not to destroy, but to defend. Fire met steel, light met shadow. When dawn came, it revealed not ruin, but rebirth. The kingdom cheered for the boy who trusted the fire and found a friend. And as they soared once more, the skies whispered again, this time of loyalty and the strength of trust.
In the heart of an emerald forest, lived a young crow with a curious mind and a bright pink bonnet. One morning, she found a delicious piece of cheese and clutched it proudly in her beak. But below the tree, a cunning fox watched her with hungry eyes and a clever plan. "Oh, graceful bird," the fox called, "your feathers shimmer like sunlight. Surely your voice must be just as beautiful." Flattered and proud, the young crow lifted her head to sing, forgetting all about the cheese in her beak. The moment she opened her beak, plop, the cheese tumbled down, right into the fox's waiting paws. With a sly grin, the fox bowed mockingly and disappeared into the trees, cheese in tow. The young crow sat in stunned silence, cheeks flushed with regret. She realized then, kind words can sometimes hide clever traps. From that day on, she listened closely, but trusted wisely. In the golden stillness of a vineyard bathed in sunlight, a young fox strolled with confident steps, his eyes always searching, always scheming. A sweet aroma drifted on the breeze. The fox paused, nose twitching, gaze drawn upward to a cluster of ripe, shimmering grapes. With a twitch of his tail and a glint in his eye, he reached up, confident, sure, but the grapes danced just out of reach. One leap, then two, then a desperate third, but the grapes remained stubbornly high, mocking his every effort. Tired and tangled, the fox slumped to the ground, his breath ragged, his pride bruised. He narrowed his eyes and scoffed, "Humph. Those grapes are probably sour anyway." With chin lifted and tail swaying, he strutted away, convincing himself of what he could not have. But beneath that clever smirk was a twinge of regret, swallowed by pride too stubborn to admit defeat. For a moment, he glanced back, wondering, perhaps, what might have been, had he tried a little wiser, not just harder. It's easy to criticize what we can't have, but wisdom lies in knowing when to try again, or when to climb smarter.
In a sunlit meadow, a young grasshopper danced through the grass, his laughter echoing across the field. With a red bandana and endless energy, he strummed leaves like guitars and leapt from stem to stem. But when he spotted a line of busy ants gathering food, he chuckled and waved. "Why work so hard? Summer's for fun. We're preparing for winter," said one ant. "You should too." But the grasshopper just smiled and bounced away. Day after day he played under the sun, while the ants worked hard beneath it. But then the skies turned gray and a cold wind blew. Winter had come, and the meadow was empty. The grasshopper searched for food, but there was none. The cold nipped at his wings, and he trembled. Shivering, he knocked on the ants' door, eyes wide with worry and a heart full of regret. The ants welcomed him in, sharing warmth and food. "Next year," he whispered, "I'll work too." And when the snow melted and spring returned, the grasshopper worked side by side with the ants, learning that play is sweet, but planning is wise. In the silent stillness of Antarctica, young Bruce wandered the frosty plains, his heart as wide as the sea around him. Something caught his eye, a speck against the endless white. It wasn't snow, it was movement. Without hesitation, Bruce bounded forward, driven by an instinct deeper than survival, compassion. There, trembling and alone, lay a baby penguin, stranded from its colony and far from warmth. Bruce curled around the penguin, his fur shielding it from the icy winds, his kindness a barrier stronger than any blizzard. He knew he had to act. Carefully lifting the penguin, Bruce began the long trek across the snow-laced expanse. Each step was a trial, but Bruce pressed on, every paw print etched with courage. At last, the calls of the colony echoed through the air. Bruce had found the little one's home. As the baby penguin waddled into its mother's embrace, Bruce watched quietly, his heart full. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness leave the deepest footprints. Bruce had saved more than a life. He had shown the world compassion. In the heart of Antarctica, where icy winds sing across endless snow, lived a brave young penguin named Flipper. Flipper loved to explore the snowy hills, dreaming of one day becoming a true hero. One chilly afternoon, Flipper spotted something unusual. A tiny baby caribou, stranded on cracking ice. Without a second thought, Flipper waddled carefully across the brittle surface, his heart pounding with fear and hope. The little caribou shivered, too scared to move, but Flipper reached out his wing, offering warmth and trust. Step by careful step, Flipper guided his new friend away from danger, never letting fear stop him. Even when the ice trembled beneath them, Flipper stood firm, determined to keep the caribou safe. Finally, with one last push of courage, Flipper helped the caribou to solid ground, away from the breaking ice. Safe and sound, the caribou nuzzled Flipper in thanks. A bond of kindness formed between them forever. In that golden sunset, Flipper learned a truth. True heroism lies not in strength, but in kindness and sacrifice.
In the heart of the wild, young Leo the lion studied an ancient map said to lead to the crystal bloom, hidden deep within the jungle. With courage in his chest and a fire in his paws, he raced through tangled vines, determined to uncover the secret alone. But the jungle had other plans. Mischievous monkeys snatched his map, vanishing into the canopy above. Lost and alone, Leo faced the wilderness's riddle, 3 paths, 1 truth, and no guide, until he met 2 unlikely allies. A clever bird named Suri and a wise turtle called Toko. "The jungle listens," Toko said, "but only teams can make it speak." Together, they soared above danger, Suri navigating by air, Leo by instinct. At the Temple of Thorns, Toko's wisdom unlocked a riddle, Leo's strength opened the gate, and there it was, the crystal bloom. shimmering with the colors of unity. Leo had set out alone, but he returned with something far greater than treasure, true friends, because in the jungle of life, the strongest roar comes from the pride that stands together.
In the heart of a whispering jungle, Aurora begins her journey, a glint of mischief in her eyes and a map clutched in her hand. With swift steps and curious leaps, she dances through vines and roots, chasing the legend of the enchanted treasure, until, whoosh, a cheeky monkey snatches her map. Aurora gasps, but laughs. The jungle plays back. Soon she's joined by unexpected allies, a parrot with a compass, a turtle who knows the river, and a brave chameleon. Together, they decode the ancient puzzle stones. Alone, she would have been lost. But together, the path reveals itself. They brave rope bridges and rivers. Aurora leads, but always checks behind. Teamwork is their true treasure. At last, a mossy stone gate groans open. Light spills through. The final chamber awaits. The treasure sparkles. Golden fruits, glowing gems. But it's the laughter behind her that makes her heart shine brightest. Aurora cheers, her friends beside her. The jungle echoes their triumph, not for what they found, but how they found it.
As the sun sets, Aurora waves goodbye. The treasure stays behind. But the lesson of unity journeys on with her.
Ben watched his dad fix a leak. "Why not just buy a new pipe?" he asked. His dad said, "Some things don't need replacing, just tightening." Next day, Ben fought with his best friend. "I'm done with him," he said. His dad handed him a wrench. "Sometimes friendships are like pipes." Ben texted his friend. They met, talked. It wasn't perfect, but it held. Later, Ben stared at the fixed pipe. It still dripped a little, but it didn't break. He smiled. Some things are worth holding together, even if they're not perfect. In the frozen heart of Antarctica, Princess Rosalie discovered a mysterious map that whispered of a hidden realm beyond the ice. With a bold step and a breath of courage, she crossed the ancient Bridge of Frost, where no one had dared for a century. There she met Orin, the snow owl guardian who warned her, "Only those who trust can pass the trials of ice." Rosalie ventured into the crystal cavern, where each step echoed with whispers of forgotten fears and frozen dreams. A misstep sent her dangling above an endless chasm, but she let go, trusting the wind would guide her fall. The ice caught her gently, whisking her through a tunnel of light that pulsed with the heartbeat of the continent. She found a frozen fox, frightened and alone. Without hesitation, she whispered, "I trust you," and broke its icy prison. The fox, freed by her faith, became her companion, gliding across the tundra faster than the wind itself. At journey's end, Rosalie placed the crystal of unity into the altar, melting walls of fear with warmth born of trust. And beneath a sky ablaze with auroras, Princess Rosalie stood not just as royalty, but as the girl who dared to trust.
One warm afternoon in the thick of the jungle, young Leo the lion cub dozed beneath a tall tree, lulled by birdsong and breeze. A sudden tickle on his paw awoke him. Beneath it squirmed a frightened mouse, barely bigger than a figure. "Spare me, noble lion," cried the mouse. "One day I shall repay your kindness." Leo blinked, amused by the tiny voice and bold promise. Though he found it hard to believe, Leo's heart was kind. He lifted his paw and let the mouse scurry away. Days later, while exploring alone, Leo stepped into a hunter's trap. Struggling in the net, he cried for help, his roars lost to the trees. From the underbrush came the very mouse he once spared. With sharp teeth and fierce loyalty, it chewed through the ropes without pause. Once freed, Leo nuzzled the mouse in gratitude. From that day on, he learned, even the smallest kindness returns in mighty ways.
In a kingdom kissed by sunrise and songbirds, Princess Seraphina spun through morning dew, dreaming of the unknown. She wandered beyond the castle hedges, where whispers of wonder stirred in the wildflowers. A flicker of blue light shimmered through the trees, a curious spark that danced like laughter. Seraphina crept closer, heart fluttering, unsure whether to trust the glow. There, in a beam of light, hovered a blue fairy no larger than a hummingbird, wings humming like harp strings. "Are you lost too?" Seraphina whispered, and the fairy nodded with a twinkle. She cupped the fairy gently, letting trust bloom between fingers and wings. Together, they followed a hidden path lit by courage and curiosity. A storm of shadows blocked their way, rumbling with fear and doubt. But Seraphina stood tall, shielding her fairy friend with unshaken trust. The storm faded, the path cleared, and light returned where trust had triumphed. They danced among sunbeams and clover, two hearts now bound by bravery. And though the fairy soon flew on, Seraphina's heart remained open, forever wiser in trust.
In the heart of a once thriving kingdom ruled a mighty dragon, King Dragon, crowned in gold, cloaked in red, and blinded by greed. He hoarded every jewel, every grain, every crumb, leaving his people hungry and hollow while he dined alone in opulence. The cries of his people echoed through palace walls, but King Dragon turned his mighty back, deaf to their despair. Seasons turned, the land withered, rivers vanished, and still he clutched his treasures tighter, unwilling to share. His riches grew, but his kingdom faded. The throne room echoed only with silence, his people gone, his land forsaken. At last, even King Dragon could not ignore the emptiness. His power meant nothing without anyone to rule. He wandered the ruins of his reign, haunted by what he'd lost. Not gold, but trust, love, and legacy. And so, the dragon who once took everything began to give. For even the most selfish heart can change if it dares to care. In the heart of a dense, whispering jungle, young Freddy Fox discovered an ancient map glinting beneath a fallen leaf, its ink dancing with mystery. With a sparkle in his eye, Freddy sketched a clever path to the treasure, his mind ticking like a finely tuned compass. But even the clever need company, and a bright feathered toucan, chirping with riddles, offered his wing in friendship. Step by cautious step, Freddy crossed the ancient bridge, trusting each rope and his new companion's warning cry. A misstep. Vines snapped. Freddy was caught. Yet it was trust, not cunning, that called the toucan back to free him. Together they ventured into the Cave of Whispers, where shadows danced and echoes spoke of long-lost guardians. To reach the treasure, Freddy faced the guardian's test, not of strength but of trust in his feathery friend's clues. With puzzle solved and faith rewarded, the chest creaked open, revealing not gold but a glowing emblem of true friendship. Freddy learned that even the slyest explorer must lean on others. For trust, not trickery, is the greatest treasure of all. Long ago, on a quiet farm, a young boy discovered an odd-looking goose nestled in the hay. To his amazement, the goose laid an egg, not white or brown, but pure, gleaming gold. Day after day, it laid another. The boy began to dream of riches beyond the farm's fences, but greed swelled in his heart. Why one egg a day, he thought, when I could take them all at once? Blinded by impatience, he raised a knife, believing the goose held treasures within, but inside, nothing. No treasure. No more golden eggs, only silence and regret. He had destroyed the very gift that brought him fortune, and all was lost in a single act of greed. From that day on, he remembered the lesson of the golden eggs. Those who have all they need should not risk it all for more.